Yes, so Hairless here. Today we have an interesting one, a track from a video game that came out recently in 2025. The game is called Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, and the song is called Lumière, meaning light in English. I don't know the game, I have never played it, but I have seen in the many comments suggesting this song to me that the game is apparently superb. It received loads of different nominations for awards like Game of the Year and such, and the people are very complimentary of its music as well. The lyrics that you can see on the screen now are interesting. There seem to be a lot of non-lyrics and a lot of repetition too. I'm of course wondering how these might be treated in the music, so to find out the answer, let's get straight into it.
Dim, dam, dadilam, vacarme, s'en va dans l'oubli éternam, et Gustave, dom guardiam, didim, dididididam, lutes sera dodidom, seram, dim, dim, da da da, dim, da da da, dim, da di dam. Dim dim da 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 dim dim da 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 dim da di dam. Dans là-haut sera ravi, les toits à sœur noir griffera. Clair obscur, trouble de rature, trouvera effet. Clair obscur, bordé aux peintures, trouvera sans elle. Clair obscur, trouble de rature, trouvera effet. Clair obscur, bordé aux peintures, trouvera sans elle. Oh, clair.
Oh, this is very fun. Very quirky, neoclassical, sort of mythical and magical. These are the words coming to mind. Really nice. It's really nice, really intriguing. I can't wait to hear more. I just want, we're nearly 1.5 minutes in. Wow, time goes quickly when you're having fun, right? I just want to go over a few things we've heard so far. It's also a new artist to the channel. I don't know how strict copyright is. When I pause, it reduces the risk of my video being completely removed off YouTube because that would be no good for anyone. There's a lot to unpack in here, so I'll try and just go over a few of the things that stood out to me most. So we have just heard the chorus, I guess.
Clair obscur, bordé aux peintures, trouvera sans elle.
Clair Obscur, the name of the game. Very important lyrics. Loosely translating to light and dark, like the artistic concept chiaroscuro. So, looking at the lyrics beforehand, I was wondering how that would be treated in the music. Would there be a similar sort of contrast, maybe loud and quiet for light and dark? There is contrast, but not in a way I could ever have expected. It's very gradual, more like a growth, which is almost contradictory to the idea of contrast. We start off in harmony between the two voices now, male and female, and then
Clair obscur, trouble de rature, trouvera.
The cello comes in with its own motif, almost acting as a counter melody in a way, but just really enhancing the polyphonic texture that we're hearing, with all the different parts having their own melodies intertwined to create this really rich sound. And then the second cello comes in with another motif. You know, rising up there really gently and nicely. So with each repetition, layers are building, the texture's becoming thicker, and it's been that way from the start of the song, really. As someone who has sung in the soundtracks of several video games and films, watching this, seeing them all there in the studio, it's quite close to home. I know the process, the studio directions, etc. So yeah, it's really cool to see. In case you can't tell, I love music. And if you're watching this, you probably love music too. And I firmly believe music really does have the potential to completely transform our experience of a video game, of watching a film or a TV show. Even though music is considered like an add-on, maybe not so important in the background, we don't see it. I think music often deserves far more credit than it gets. And why I'm focusing on this is because we're seeing the music happen here. I love the camera work, not just focusing on the group as a whole, really going into each part when they have an important moment, such as an entry. And seeing it like this is a different experience altogether. Some of you might have played this game. I haven't, and I know some of you wouldn't have. So our experiences of what we're seeing now is completely different. You, if you've played it, you know the music already. I don't. So it's really cool to see right from the introduction. I had a sneaking suspicion I was going to like this. Straight away, we know there'll be a certain feel to the song, a certain type of energy. We're immediately introduced to cellos, pizzicato, plucking. That brings with it the idea, and this sounds silly, but hear me out, the idea of dums, like a dum type sound. The cello is often considered to be the most similar to the human voice in terms of its timbre, its texture. And then what do the vocals do when they first come in?
Dim, dam.
Dim, dam. A similar type of sound. So I think there's something really playful about this, very energetic. Sprightly is a word that comes to mind, or even impish. One thing that contributes massively to the energy are the rhythms. So just let's take that opening a couple of seconds. So we start. And when we get these chords, they are the accented parts, chum, chum, pa. They're on the offbeats. Accenting the offbeats will always give a bit more energy than accenting the strong beats, which we might expect. So there. And then again, and then it continues here. And then the singer, what's her name? I should probably find out. Her name is Alice. Alice Dupont-Percier. Alice does such a good job of really subtly accenting these offbeats.
Dim, dim, da, 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 dim, dim, da, 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 dim, da.
On the da sounds, I mentioned at the beginning, everything was kind of like a dum dim type of sound. Now the vowel is open, ah. I think a little change like that and the way she's singing really does have quite a big impact on the piece overall. How about the harmony? Right from the beginning. That's a dissonance if we put what we've just heard together, and then it continues. And then you can see by the names of the chords on the screen that these are some very funky chords. And by funky here, I just mean dissonant, and they add a level of tension to the music rather than just having simple chords all the way through. I'm finding this really cool so far, so let's carry on.
Oh, clair,
Hello, piano.
obscur, trouble, rature, clair, obscur, guardé aux peintures. Clair, obscur, trouble de rature, courbera Eiffel. Clair, obscur, guardé aux peintures, trouvera sans elle. Clair, obscur, trouble de rature, courbera Eiffel. Clair, obscur, guardé aux peintures, trouvera sans elle.
Yeah, it's cool. I really like this style of neoclassical. So, you know, it sounds kind of classical, but also you can tell it's not by time period just because of the types of harmonies and rhythms that we're hearing. This little instrumental section that we just had with the cello being the primary instrument and then handing over to the violin. How the violin's entering, you know, just off the kind of more regimented rhythmic infrastructure that we might expect from orchestral music. Maybe chamber music might be the better term here, but also the harmonies that we're hearing. You know, this chromatic inflection. And there are these very temporary clashes between the cello and the violin because they're both doing their own thing. Like I said before, a lot of really nice polyphonic treatment. So every part kind of its own independent line, and then you put them together and they create this lovely soundscape. But also when we have like the Clair Obscur moments, all of the instruments are now joining together almost homophonically, so playing the same things and the same rhythms as each other.
Clair obscur, guardé aux peintures, trouvera sans elle.
even the piano. And the piano, since its entry, even though subtle, to me was quite a standout part because it's just adding so much in terms of the rhythms. It's got all these beautiful little runs. Did you hear at the top? And when it first entered, the syncopations and offbeats, especially against the vocal melody, could not be more exaggerated. And in the piano itself, in the bass hand, and then at the top, the way I'm describing it sounds like it's super, super energetic and manic. But that's clearly not the feeling of this piece, which to me makes it even more interesting. We're getting all of these things that would be typical of something much more energetic, but overall things seem kind of calm. I think that's the charm of the music, and I have seen a lot of comments from people saying the game is amazing, but the music as well. Someone even mentioned that they just sit listening to the music for hours. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how this looks within the game. That would be cool. Maybe I need to get the game, I don't know. I don't play games anymore. This part is so nice. We have this ostinato in the bass, almost like a walking bass. Boom, 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 boom. Just the harmonic foundation underneath everything, outlining the chords that we're hearing as they change, but in an arpeggiated fashion. This really melismatic smooth in the melody, gradually moving up. And then the piano part is, whoa. Yeah, a lot of cool things in here. Let's continue, but just before we do, I mentioned earlier that I've sung in the soundtracks for some video games. Just in case you might be curious as to which ones, I'll play a short clip or two, depending on copyright, from one of the games. If you're a gamer, you might recognize it. Yeah, that's really eerie, isn't it? Very atmospheric. Well, look, why did I show you that? As you heard, it's very choral. I have a choral background. And a few comments recommending this, Lumière, also suggested another song from the game. That's a choral track called Rose Fingered Dawn. So I will also be reacting to that one, but for time reasons, I won't be including it in this YouTube video. So if you'd like to see that as well, you can find that linked below in the pinned comment. Anyway, let's carry on with Lumière.
Clair obscur, noir et haut, peinture trouvera sans elle.
Where did the choir come from? They just popped out of nowhere. I guess that's probably the choir of the choral track that people have recommended that I just mentioned.
Trouvera sans elle. Clair obscur, trouble de rature, courbera les fers. Clair obscur, noir et haut, peinture trouvera sans elle.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? It's the little details as well. I've used the term neoclassical a few times. One simple way that we can determine that it's modern, obviously, other than the fact it's in a video game, but just for theory's sake, is the guitar. It's a metal string guitar, which is a different type of sound to a nylon string guitar. And this is just not an instrument that you would typically hear in a chamber music setting, at least not a century or two ago. It's a nice touch. I think it complements the plucked element of the piano very well. A lovely way to end. From where we carried on, I love the play with the lyrics. Oh, Clair Obscur, and listen to the two O's. One is the word O, and the other is part of obscur. Very subtle wordplay. Maybe not even wordplay, that's probably not the right word, but just, I don't know, it's fun what they did with it there. A lot of melodic and rhythmic manipulations, which I think are necessary because as we saw in the introduction, there are a lot of repeated lyrics in this one. So you can't just repeat the lyrics and the music exactly. You could, but it might get boring. Plenty of variety in this one, plenty of growth and then subsequent reduction in both the sounds and the strangeness of the harmonies and the rhythms. Really well put together song, and I can assure you I will be listening to this many more times because I thought that was really cool. I will also be probably watching videos of the game with this music in it to see just how it enhances the aesthetic of the game. And now we will be watching and I'll be reacting to Rose Fingered Dawn, the choral track from this soundtrack. So once more, if you want to join me on that, head on over to the link in the pinned comment. If not, and you're still watching, firstly, thank you very, very much. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know you enjoyed this by liking the video, by commenting on it. Other recommendations, maybe songs from this game you'd like me to do. If this video does well, maybe I will. If you don't want to write any words, then we'll do emojis. So how about the video game and violin emoji like you see on the screen? Thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next one. Unless I've bought this game and become addicted and make no more videos ever.